Real Men, Real Talk. We are all about holistically supporting African American men and their families. We're here at the African American Male Wellness 5K Walk and Run. This is our 20th year walking to save Black men's lives. And we don't just focus on the physical aspect of supporting African American men. We understand there's some key areas. Mental health, mental wellness is a big conversation right now. And we're excited because we were able to do Real Men, Real Talk conversations all across the country where we bring brothers into a safe environment, a safe space to self-disclose, share some things that they're carrying so they can understand that it's okay to talk. So we're here today, live, coming from the 20th African American Male Wellness 5K Walk and Run here in Columbus, Ohio. But we got a special guest. So along with myself and Mr. John Gregory, we have Ryan Mundy coming all the way from Chicago. Ryan, what's good, buddy?
What up, what up, what up? I'm really happy to be here.
Happy to be here, man.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is great.
Big NFL football player. Yeah, buddy. So we get them in. All the special people, we get them in all the way from Chi-Town.
Chi-Town in the house, for sure. By way of Pittsburgh.
By way of Pittsburgh. Why people always say by way of, but anyway, that's
my hometown though.
That's what you think, Kenny.
By way of Detroit.
What he's talking about. Then people say, where you from? They're like, Detroit. I'm like, dude, you've been living in Columbus for 100 years.
Listen, you know, what up, though? So I'm a huge supporter of my hometown. Detroit is where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
I got so much love for that city. But, man, listen, you know, it's not about Detroit right now. It's about celebrating Columbus, Ohio. Ryan, what made you come to Columbus and be in this environment this weekend with us?
I had to see it for myself. You know, anytime that I hear Black men and wellness, my ears perk up. And then engaging with you, speaking and learning more about the organization, and then for this to be the 20th year, I was like, man, I have to make it down. And I've been thoroughly impressed. But again, this is all about like empowerment, health, and wellness, particularly for our brothers, man. We just don't have enough of that in this space, and so I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. And again, I just had to come down and see it for myself.
That's
You
all.
know what? You're in the mental health space.
Yep.
And they're very popular. People listen to you. They get advice from you. Talk to me about what got you into the mental health portion.
Yeah, it was really my experience as an athlete. So I played in the NFL. Taking a step back, I played football for 24 years in total. And 8 out of those 24, I was in the NFL. I played 5 years for the Steelers, 1 year for the Giants, and 2 for the Bears. And then at the age of 31, I retired. And for the first time in my life, I had to really ask myself, like, who am I? I didn't have a strong answer for that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know anything about myself outside of football. And because of that brought on a lot of anxiety, worried about what I was going to do next, depression, thinking about the past and my former self and no longer being able to play football. And just, again, general identity issue, just not knowing myself. And it was interesting because during this time, like, I had achieved a degree of fame, I had made some good money, but yet still I felt lost and hopeless. And at times I felt like I couldn't buy my way to help. And it was that experience also paired with the experience of my family where my grandfather died from Alzheimer's and dementia. My father-in-law died at an early age of a heart attack. My grandmother had a stroke. There were several other like health events that happened in my family. I just kind of put 2 and 2 together and I said, like, who's really like championing like Black health, and particularly through the lens of mental health and the things that I was going through. And then 2020 happened, and then just like the top kind of came off. And so it was an element of timing, but really it was driven by my personal experience.
You know, I really like the fact that you said it because one of our motto is it's okay to talk.
Yeah.
We want Black men to talk.
Yep.
And, you know, I remember being 30 years old and going through that same experience. Being in corporate America and making a lot of money and then asking myself, like, what do I do with myself? And that's when I left corporate America because I was having mental health, not a mental health issue, but I was having a crisis about who I am. You know how many Black men have crisis? I don't know, Kenny, you ever experienced that?
Man, you guys are touching on something that's near and dear to my heart. You know, dealing with the pursuit of trying to become a professional athlete and then knocking on the door several times, and life's just saying, you know what, it's just not in the cards for you. Identity crisis is no joke, and it's something that a lot of men we haven't had the invitation, I would say, to actually have that conversation. So we're having that conversation by ourselves, but there's not many people that are even talking enough about it for us to feel okay about sharing it. So I remember being 33 years old, you know, doing well in corporate America, beautiful family, married 10 plus years, but still feeling like I'm a failure. I'm not who I dreamt I would be. This isn't the life that I thought that I would have. And I had to really just challenge myself and understand, man, that God has a plan for me. And sports was just one thing that He allowed me to do, or He gave me the talent to do. But there's so much more that I can contribute to, to this world.
Yeah.
And so I had to really dig deep and stand up and say, you know what, sports is just one vehicle to drive me to some cool places. Let me hop into another vehicle. Let me do something else. And to be able to now lead this incredible organization that is literally out here doing things to not just promote awareness, but we're saving lives one free screening at a time. It has now given me that game day experience. Right?
Yeah.
I'm here now.
It was like game day. The energy.
I'm telling you, man, you get the blood pumping, and
Yeah.
it really feels like I am getting prepared to strap on some pads and go out there and compete. But we are competing. We're competing to save the lives of our men who are dying way too early, on average at the age of 67 years old, to preventable diseases. Why? Because we just don't find out what's going on inside our bodies. Why? Because a lot of it has to do with what's going on upstairs in our heads.
So right there, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, Ryan, have you ever cried?
Yes.
And when you cried, was hiding when you was crying, or did you ever cry openly, or why do you think black men have a hard time expressing that emotion?
We never really built up that muscle. And it becomes like a protective mechanism. And when you show vulnerability or show that is interpreted as weakness, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. And that prevents a lot of us from seeking help, getting help, helping ourselves, crying, etc. And so to be able to have the freedom and the agency to really tap in and express yourself in the moment, how you're feeling, regardless of who's around or where you're at, is really, really important. But again, it starts with us, right? Like we have to support one another.
I agree.
And it's like events like this where we can rally around, inspire one another, where we can look to our left and look to our right and see a brother taking good care of himself. Right? Like that's powerful. That's energy and that's momentum that we can take back into our respective homes, communities, and families and people in the world.
So is it important that as black men particularly, I know in my age, and I'm kind of a little older than I don't look as bad, I didn't think, but
JG, you look pretty good for your age,
Great,
brother.
brother. You did.
So put it on camera.
hey, right, listen, do you think that what we need to find somebody to talk to, you think that would help us?
Yeah, that would be one form of help. And it's really important to establish like there's no one true way of well-being. Like you are different than me, I am different than Kenny, so on and so forth. We all got different needs. And we have to be respectful of those needs. And sometimes like talking to somebody is a part of that process, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just listening to a song. Sometimes it's going for a walk in the park. Sometimes, and that's what I do every day. I go for a walk in the park. I spend time in nature. Sometimes it's giving your boy the call. Sometimes it's a good meal. Whatever it is, it's an exercise, it's a workout. Where we have to ultimately find what works for us.
All right.
I tell you what, one of the things that I like about the work that you're doing is that you make it okay for men to just be vulnerable and just be open.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us feel as though we gotta put on this facade. We gotta wear this mask that everything is just tight. We're good, but behind that mask and behind the facade, there's a lot of brokenness.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really do admire about the work that you're doing, man, is that you are very transparent. So talk to me a little bit more about how transparency can really be a key to unlock a lot of our men from the chains of some of these mental wellness issues that we're struggling with today.
Yeah, it's really important because like you have to get to it. We could walk around acting like everything is okay, but we all got something going on the inside that we're scared to show. The faster and the more frequently that we can share and be open with one another, that brings us closer and closer.
Let's say right there what you just said. You said we all got something.
Yeah.
We're afraid to show.
I mean, after the last 3 years, how could you not have gone through something? That's the reality of it. We have lived through a life-changing event in being the pandemic, and coming out of that, like we're still acclimating and getting back into like, quote, normalcy. And during that time, it revealed a lot of things that were kind of undesirable about ourselves. And we had really time to like kind of sit, maybe look in the mirror, dig a little deeper, and it got uncomfortable. And so now, like, these things are kind of sitting at the top. And so, like, when we get back out in front of each other, you got to be like, "You all right? Are you doing okay?" Because you went through the same things that I went through, right? We were sheltered in place for a year. And so, like, we have to we have to get to a point where we can be real with one another so that we start to collectively go from here.
You know what's really interesting is that I've listened to people talk about that period of time.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is that I had to learn what courage meant because we didn't shut down. You know, my employees came to work. They asked me what we were doing. I was like, "Hey, we working because we're in the business of educating kids, so we're not shutting our schools down. We're in the community." And every day somebody would call me and say, "Oh, they said COVID is this." And I'd be like, "Hey, I'll see you at work." We took off 30 days, but after 30 days, it was like, "Hey, we're coming back to work." But then the other piece is, I traveled. I went out of the country. I did all kinds of things. Because what I did was I refused to succumb to that attitude of I was going to be defeated. But it also had to teach me courage. And now there's situations that happen in your life that have to teach you how to believe greater than what you need to believe. So let me ask you, have you ever had a situation in your life where you was like, "Oh, I don't know how much get through it, but I gotta reach."
All the time. All the time. It's something that one of my coaches used to tell me, get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? It's where the courage really starts to show up because life inevitably things are going to go wrong. They're not going to get as planned. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard. But it's how we show up in those times and circumstances that ultimately determine the course of our future. And so, yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. And just always just trying to be mindful, not only about courage, but also about like compassion, vulnerability, and how can all of those ingredients just allow me to show up and be the best and highest version of myself each and every day.
Being vulnerable, let me ask you a question. I know you don't want me to ask you, but you ever watch football on TV and you're like, "Dang, I wish I was still there"?
No, actually, no. It's interesting. Sometimes I look at it and say, "Damn, I used to do that." Like, wow, like what was going through my brain running into like 300-pound men at
A big fat check, maybe?
Yeah, that's important.
That's one reason.
That's one reason. But on the other side of it, especially looking at some of my former NFL brethren, like sometimes you have to ask yourself, is the check worth it? Right? Is it check worth your health for some of the adverse health effects that potentially come with football, particularly the narrative around CTE? And with CTE, you can't even get a full diagnosis on CTE until you're dead. So they can't properly tell you that you have CTE until that you have passed away and they have your brain up. Right? And so like sometimes you gotta ask yourself, the check is great, right? In the moment, but that moment is very short and it's fleeting. And so we have to really ask ourselves, why are we doing it? What are we doing it for? And ultimately, always still prioritizing the health throughout the process for whatever decision we make.
Well, let me ask Kenny. That's that question. Now you sitting here next to an NFL player.
Right.
You all physically fit. You done made a bunch of money. Did you sit right now? Did you jealous?
No, absolutely not. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that I used to watch football. I used to hear the jingle from SportsCenter, da-da-da. And sometimes it would make me want to rock. Because some of the guys that I trained with, some of the guys that I competed against, it worked out for them. They made it.
Yeah.
And then mentally, I'm telling myself, I know I can still play this sport at a very high level. But it just, you know how it goes. You reach a certain age, and now you've aged out of the opportunity.
So when did you say enough?
Personally, I didn't say enough to about the age. I gave up that whole idea around the age 27. 27 years old. Going into my 28th chapter of my life. But I was determined to figure things out. I didn't like the way it felt, but I was like, you know what? It's gonna be all right. I believe that all things work together for my good.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna tell you that word all is just 3 letters. But man, it encompasses a lot of pain and sometimes a lot of hurt. So to answer your question, JG, I celebrate anyone who can make it to that level. But there's I represent a lot of men who have tried for the first 20 plus years of their lives to get to that level. And when it does not work out for you, it is devastating. And it's a pain that you only can relate to if you experience it. Because the sting, personally, it never goes away. You just got to get comfortable with understanding that, hey, you know what, that time is now comfortable. So
I'll leave you guys with this on that topic. Mike Tomlin used to say, football is not who you are, it's what you do. I like that. And a lot of times, because like that day when you're no longer an NFL athlete or a football player, that's inevitable for everybody. Whether you stop playing after high school, college, pros, you play one game in the pro, or you have a career like Tom Brady or somewhere in between, you won't stop playing football. And ultimately, there's going to be a day after where you have to answer a set of questions, i.e., who am I, what I like, what I want to do with the rest of my life. You're still under the age of 35. You got a whole lot of life to live. So, like, attaching yourself, your ego to like that external version and thinking that is actually who you are, that's just what you do. Right? Now look at you, like you out here, this is amazing. Right? Did you ever see this for yourself when you were 27?
I did not.
You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful part about it. That's the beautiful part about life journey. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Because now it's given me, like we were talking about, that game day experience where I'm not playing in front of thousands of people. I'm now serving thousands of people.
And best believe this is a big game, bro.
It's a huge game.
This is a huge
But
game.
you know what, though? I'm going to tell you something. His ego wouldn't let him come about 4 years ago.
That's true.
I had to beg him past his ego. Like, hey, dude, I got a job for you. I can be good at you.
Okay.
And it took me 4 years to convince him. He told me no 4 times.
I did.
Wow.
And I was like, 4 times. And I was like, well, first of all, you ain't that.
I ain't gonna ask you 5 times.
You know how former athletes are, man. You know how we are. We do not. We don't go away. We don't put our stuff aside for anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm about to build this other thing for myself and do my own thing. Because why? I'm determined to get to the top of a mountain, right? But I did miss a key part of the process, and that is partnership. Partnership and mentorship are 2 critical pieces to that puzzle in order for us to get to a certain level of success.
Right.
So this partnership that I have with JG and this incredible organization has changed my life in every phase of my life.
Yeah.
So it has really been a blessing for me to humble myself, because I did have ego, I did have pride.
And ego?
A little bit of ego is good. Never hurt anybody. That's like salt in your
And ego?
That's like having a little salt in your
Monday got ego too, though. Because I know when we first had a conversation with him, he was like, who are you? What do I need to do? I said, what did he say, y'all? They said, well, he wanted to know why he partnered with us. I was like, hang up the telephone.
Who said that?
The ego, that's okay. You got good ego.
Man, that was probably somebody from my team. That was not me directly.
Athletes, we have this chip on our shoulder, and it's something that we can use it as an advantage. But sometimes it can be a disadvantage if it's misplaced, if it's not used appropriately.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for the opportunity to partner with JT. And I really want to throw this out there to all the men. Get yourself connected with someone who loves you enough to tell you the truth about yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's too many men that's walking around with people that are celebrating them when somebody really should be giving them some critical feedback.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I believe that. You have to surround yourself with people who can help you see yourself. Right? Because sometimes, like when you get too close to a situation, you don't have the whole view. I mean, even think about just like in general, like you can't see behind yourself. You don't have a 360 degree view of yourself, right? So like surrounding yourself with people who can pour into you, encourage you, but then also give you the tough love and the feedback. Sometimes ask you, keep pushing, like, hey man, this is you. I'm telling you, give it a shot, give it a shot, give it a shot. We need that, right? And so like surrounding yourself with like-minded folks and people who can pour into you and see you is really very important.
So Ryan, tell our community, man, like how can they learn more about what you're doing, your organization, how to follow you?
Yep.
Go ahead and let us know, how we can go ahead and tap into the things that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So starting at the top, I run a Black wellness and mental health company called Alchemy Health. We are headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, and we make mental health video courses, mindfulness practices, meditations. We host live workshops on our platform. We have an Android and also iOS app, so you can go to the App Store, download our app, free accounts, and get started on your journey to self-care and self-maintenance. I've put about 400 or so videos on our platform. Again, like mental health video courses, meditations, etc., that are available anytime, anywhere. It's all led by Black experts, and we're talking about uniquely Black topics as it relates to Black mental health, i.e., generational traumas, being Black in the workplace, so on and so forth. But to learn more, you can go to alchemyhealth.com. That's alchemy, ALKEME health.com. Register, and you'll get started on your healthcare journey.
Awesome. Hey, listen, this has been an incredible conversation, Ryan. We appreciate you coming all the way from the shot to Columbus, Ohio to celebrate 20 years of us walking to save Black men's lives. We understand that mental wellness is something that is really, really heavy in our community. So we pride ourselves on being able to open up this space to let our men know that it's okay to talk. JG,
What can I say?
you tell yourself?
You know what? I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you coming. I'm sitting here thinking, like, when I was in high school, I used to be a star football player, 175 pounds. I'm not that now. And I remember making that choice that I didn't want to be an athlete. And I got a scholarship to go to Ohio State University for the children academic scholarship. But I do remember one thing, that competitiveness. And that competitive drive, I think you have to change that spirit and make it work for you in other kinds of areas too. So you can be the fastest guy on the team, but if your heart's not in that, it's not gonna work for you. So don't go after a dream that ain't for you. Go after your dream and go there and put the energy in it so you can be successful. Hey, we thank you, Kenny, the president of the agency. We got a walk going on here. We're coming to Chicago. We got to partner with you. We're looking forward to building with you.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
We're able to do the work that we do because of all of the sponsors that pour into our organization. We are standing in the gap between the community and organizations that are serious about equity, serious about the change in our community. So organizations like Next Gen, Testing, J&J, Virginia Tech, Meyer, Franklin County Board of Commissioners. We are just thrilled to have as many sponsors we have this year to let us know that, hey, we are not in this fight alone. So thank you to everyone that has poured into our organization. We could not have done this without you.